So I bought a motorcycle that some would consider to have high mileage. I bought a 2010 Triumph Scrambler with about 38,000 miles. I have put on about 3,000 miles, so I want to kind of do like a 3,000 mile review. I am in a abandoned Wells Fargo. I am in an abandoned Walgreens parking lot. They're doing construction over there on Chick-fil-A. I'm gonna go ahead and get on the road because I got to get to the gym to meet my gym buddy, and I'm gonna tell you all the pros and cons I think of owning this Triumph car. So I'm going to go ahead and start the pros and cons list with the pros, and these are going to be in like no particular order or anything. But number one, this bike just looks good as hell. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. The bike has like a nice, very classic vintage look, but it's also like got like a modern style to it. This bike has gotten me quite a few compliments actually. Most people, like when they like want to talk about the bike, they kind of talk about the knobbies. Now the knobby tires, when I first got the bike, I was scared as hell taking like turns because I never really rode on knobby tires other than my buddy's old dirt bike. So far, these knobbies have been absolutely perfect. I haven't had any like problems with them. Haven't had like any scares like on turns or anything. Even when I get caught in all these downpours, the bike just feels completely solid. And this kind of brings me to like a little subsection into this point where this bike looks good as hell, but it also feels sturdy as hell. Like when I'm on the highways and you could tell it's very windy. I mean, obviously I'm on a bike, but like when like you get hit with like a side wind or anything, this bike feels absolutely planted. Back to like the looks. I don't know if this is a factory paint job, but I mean, it's pretty cool. I mean, I don't really have any complaints. The only thing that sucks, well, it's not like anyone's fault, but this bike is kind of scratched on the tank. But other than like that scratch, dude, I absolutely love this fucking black and gold look that it's got going on. Even like the new headlight that the person before me installed, that's honestly kind of a nice touch. But my second pro is kind of a con in its own way, and I'm going to get into that a little bit later. But the exhaust, I absolutely love this exhaust. This is bike specific because when I first got this bike, the exhaust was basically kind of completely fallen out because the previous owner, I kid you not almost every single bolt, and I mean every single bolt, was hand tied. I'm surprised this bike didn't fall apart like a cartoon when I was riding it.
What the fuck?
All of the bolts were literally hand tight. The exhaust was also falling out, but how the exhaust was falling out, the bike sounded really good. Like the bike was popping a lot more, but it's obviously was fucking hanging out. I do have an exhaust clip that I'm gonna put right here so you guys could actually hear what it sounds like, because I set the microphone up in my bag one day. The mic was right next to the exhaust, so I'm gonna play that right here. Oh, getting skinny. But my third pro is that this bike is quick as hell. I wouldn't really say it's fast. It's more like quick, like it's got a whole bunch of torque. I talked about it last. I'm gonna put the specs up right here. But if I remember correctly, I think it only had like, I want to say like 50 pounds of torque. But this thing isn't quick like my CBR or the Kawasaki that I had. Those bikes I would consider fast and fast as hell. Since it's got some low end torque, you can really like get up and get out of the way if you need to. So that's also a pro. So it's kind of, it's got some good safety precautions. So yeah, that would be the pro. It is quick. Allegedly the fastest I've gotten this bike up to is about 101. I think it tops out about 110 if I'm not mistaken. I think it was like 107 to 110 was like the top speed. Who the fuck is honking? Better not to be honking at me. It is legal to lane filter to the front. And pro numero 4 is going to be the duality of this bike. Because it has knobby tires, that gives an open invitation to take this soul girl off-road. Now, I did mention before, I'm not keeping this bike and I am going to trade it with somebody, so I will not be doing that. But before I agreed to trading the bike, I did kind of mess around Dragon's Den. I'll let you get over. And it wasn't nothing crazy. It was literally like right after I just bought the bike. So I was still getting like used to like the clutch and everything. And I just didn't want to drop it. So I do have some riding footage in dirt. I know it's not the most hardcore hardcore thing, but it's all I got. So I do apologize. And of course, I will put that right here. Why does this feel more wrong doing it with a big bike than the Grom? Big bump. And now we get into the bad and the ugly, the big old cons of owning this bike. Con number one, it's just expensive to own in general. Aftermarket support is kind of bad. I did mention in the last video that I had to replace the crankshaft position sensor, and that little sensor alone was about, I think it was like 90 bucks, but I had to pay extra to get overnight shipping because it's my only mode of transportation. I think it was like 115 bucks altogether at the end of the day to get the part with the overnight shipping. This is going to kind of go into one of the later cons, but I was looking into getting a different exhaust for this bike. My God, the exhausts that I was able to find were going to cost me quite literally a arm and a leg, and I was just not going to do that. The place that I got this bike from, Motorado, they gave me a box full of parts. I'm pretty sure I mentioned that, but there's the old stock exhaust, and I don't know what it sounds like, but I just know these exhausts are a pretty penny. And con number two is I am not a fan of this exhaust placement. I mentioned it sounds good, but if you could see, here is my middle thigh. That is the exhaust right there. Woo, almost fucking touched it. This exhaust has cost me 2 pairs of pants, I believe, just because I'm more used to the bikes having the exhaust closer to the bottom of the bike, not dead ass in the middle. When you get done riding and you need to push your bike back, it makes it very hard when the exhaust is in the middle of the bike and you're trying to push it back. Like, I'm 5'11", 6 foot on Tinder. I have to like tippy toe on my right foot because I can't flat foot it, because if I flat foot it, my leg is pressing up against the bike and on that hot ass exhaust. Now it does have a heat shield, but not covering the entire exhaust. But yeah, I have burnt myself plenty of times trying to move the bike back after it got done riding, just chilling at a stoplight. Once I get out of Chinese, I will continue the list. Dude, front row parky, dude. Fuck yeah, that's fucking tits. Okay, so kind of tiptoeing on the expensive con is another con, and well, this one's kind of bike specific, but it also kind of ties into the expensive one. Since like the mods are so expensive, I'm a hater, okay? And let me tell you why I'm a hater. I mentioned it in the last video. I absolutely despise how little information. All I have is a speedometer, no tachometer, the total miles of the bike, how much miles I put on the trip, like on this trip before I reset it. I'm pretty sure this is an aftermarket speedometer. The guy who installed this one, I wish I ought to give you one of these. As you can see, that's it. I wish this had a fuel gauge or maybe at least a fuel light. I did happen to run this bike out of gas twice. One of them was on camera. Obviously, I'll put that right here. I don't got my mic on, but I am wearing my helmet. I just ran the bike out of gas. Not having a gas gauge or a fuel light really kind of sucks sometimes. That's kind of bike specific just because this is an aftermarket speedometer. And for my next con, it's kind of like an if you want, it could also be bike specific. Like when I first got this bike, it ran flawlessly, and then I went to Vegas for my buddy Dylan's birthday. I believe I was coming home from Dylan's house because we drove out there and I just left my bike at his house. As soon as I was heading home, the bike shut off and died, and I was like, what the hell? And then just looking into it, talking to ChatGPT, and it mentioned the crankshaft position sensor. I was like, okay. And actually this bike has a OBD scanner, like an OBD port. So plugged it in, boom, it did say it was the crankshaft position sensor. So went and got that fixed, spent the fucking $120 or whatever on the sensor. Probably could have went out because the old owner of this bike did neglect it pretty bad. Like I mentioned, all the bolts were fucking loose. Like when we were digging into the bike, we found a hole, like the bike was just covered in gunk everywhere. So that's why it could be bike specific, because just of the old owner. Ever since we replace that. Bike has been running fine, starts up every single time, so the reliability could be questionable, but talking with ChatGPT, she pretty much made it seem like if you just keep up on your basic maintenance and you just keep everything good, 75,000 miles is like when like you might have to do something major. But I feel like basic oil changes, keep your chain tight, clean it, I feel like you should be good, because I haven't had any problems and I haven't done an oil change or replace a chain, which that's something that needs to be done on this bike. Again, it's bike specific. Yeah, that's gonna go ahead and bring me into the final con that I could think of. With this being like a, I guess for a lack of a better term, like a foreign bike, the only place that works on this bike is Triumph itself. Like when I was trying to call around to see if someone could get me in to work on the bike to get it ready to ride. I mean, it's the start of the riding season, so everywhere is busy as hell, but most places were like, dude, yeah, we don't work on Triumphs. So the only place I was able to get in or get a set appointment was through Triumph itself. So that could probably be like a potential downside, is you have to go to Triumph itself to get the bike worked on, or unless you get a buddy like how I did and work on it, which I mean, it wasn't that hard. This bike can be taken apart mostly with freaking goddamn Allen keys, which is kind of funny. Other than that, that's the only thing I could think of. Now, who do I think this bike is for? I honestly think it's for like a kind of like a weekend warrior, or just someone who wants to get off of work and just go be a crazy hooligan somewhere, because this bike gives you the option to. I think I'm going to go ahead and wrap up this video here. Let me know what you guys think of the bike. Is it for you? Do you want a Triumph? Hopefully this video either helped you get inspired to get one, or if my cons kind of steered you away from the bike, hopefully you go get a better bike. Like I said, I'm going to go ahead and wrap up this video here. But as always, if you guys ever go out riding, just remember to keep it on two wheels. Much love, and I will see you in the next one. Later. I'm not going to rev the bike because there's a baby right there. Later.
Wanna get a mansion, a jacuzzi, a theater to watch my movies, couple whips and lots of fancy things. The kids they call the Goonies.